Okay, this is Joy Reid, host of The Readout. That's the name of the show we're watching. And this is Tiffany Justice. She is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty.
Moms for Liberty is standing up for parental rights across America.
By exposing our children to adult concepts such as gender identity, we are asking them to carry a load that is much too heavy for them.
Might I suggest instead of anal sex, perhaps we could go back to teaching cursive?
This book is not appropriate, and it is in your schools.
Moms for Liberty is a parent activist group.
So to be honest with you, I don't think they're liberal Democrats. Now, before we look at some clips from the interview, the first thing I want you to note is that Moms for Liberty is not asking for books to be banned. They're asking for something very specific. They're saying that certain books should not be allowed in public schools. Here is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty explaining it.
No, hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book, print the book, publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Now, this makes sense, right? We don't want children just grabbing any book, right? Maybe pornography in here or something like that. So we want to limit what children have access to, and that's why we don't let them have unfettered access to the internet. So what the co-founder of Moms for Liberty is saying is true. It's absolutely true. But let's see what Joy Reid's objection or pushback is to allowing any book with any content into public schools.
The county is like a scam. Moms for Liberty activists are using booklooks.com, and it's essentially a cliff notes for books.
Yeah.
So you go through without even having to read the book. I'm going to just hold it up so our audience can see what it looks like. This is the one for All Boys Aren't Blue, which is one of the books Moms for Liberty has pushed
Everyone
to have
should go and see the content in this book. That's such a good idea.
And so what
Joy.
happens is...
Okay, I stopped it here because I think you need to know what's in this particular book. It's crazy. So I'm going to play a Senate hearing in which a U.S. Senator reads excerpts from this book. And the good people who you see on the screen are advocating that these books be placed in public schools with young children. 3rd graders, 4th graders, 5th graders. They want those children to have access to the books that you're about to hear.
Let's take 2 books that have been much discussed. The first one is called All Boys Aren't Blue, and I will quote from it. I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Close quote. All Boys Aren't Blue. The second is another much discussed book. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay? Let me read an excerpt from that. Quote, I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Now, the craziness about this part is that I don't know how much of that video you heard because YouTube is demonetizing this video like crazy. But remember, I can't show this video to adults on YouTube, but they want to place it in public schools with children. YouTube is saying that what that guy just said is so bad that I can't show it to you on YouTube because advertisers saying it's not kid friendly, but they want to put it in public schools. That's the craziness that I have to deal with. And showing something that the Biden administration and the lefties are advocating for. Put this in public schools. Let our children read this. I can't even show it to adults on YouTube. But I digress. Let's get back to the video.
So what's
that is the way.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's anally by his adult family member. So you have incest, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, wait, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me a question. So
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just
to
gave
name-
me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on.
The main,
who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name of the
remembered
author
very
doesn't.
specific things.
Joy.
Here's my
We're
question.
talking about
Here's my
strap.
question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
All right. That was embarrassing for Joy Reid. Obviously, Tiffany from the Moms of Liberty has read the story. She knew the name of the author. His name is George, which she said, George. She knew that it was his life story. Why? Because it is his life story. She knows details of the book. And Joy's only thought is that because you can't name the main character of the book, that means you didn't read the book? No. You can say that about any book if you don't remember the main character. Like, for instance, if I say, hey, there's a book with the main character, he flies, he comes from Neverland, he fights pirates, what's the kid's name again? I don't know. Well, you never read that book. No. Obviously, I'm talking about Peter Pan people. But no, that doesn't make any sense. And my question back to Joy Reid is, would I have to look at things like CP, child blank, for me to know that it's not appropriate in public schools? I don't need to look at it. I can say, yeah, based on this is no good. So I just don't understand the desperation by Joy Reid, but this is embarrassing for her. But the bad part about it is that Joy Reid thinks that this is a gotcha moment, that she won this debate. I'm going to fast forward here to show you her interview. Essentially, she interviewed some friendlies to tell how great she was during this interview. But let me switch to that interview to show you how much she thought this moment was the gotcha moment that she stumped the woman from Moms for Liberty. Check this out.
There was some talk about George M. Johnson, who wrote.
I will note that Ms. Justice did not know his name. She knew all sorts of things about.
She liked to say the word dildo and said that a lot.
So they're saying Tiffany from the Moms of Liberty did not know the author's name. That's what you just heard. But if you go back to the interview, she literally said the author's name, to refresh your memory.
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very.
Now listen, Joy Reid is a POS, and I'm going to say it because if NBC is putting her up to ask these type of questions in this deceptive way and then go on afterwards and pretend that this woman didn't know the author of the book when she clearly does. You just heard her saying it. This is why no one trusts the mainstream media, because of people like Joyanne Reid and the lies that she's obviously telling. And we haven't even gotten through 10% of the interview, and they're lying about what happened during this interview because of people like Joyanne Reid and the lies that she's obviously telling. These books with dildos and strap-ons and all this stuff should be taught to grade school children.
I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
This is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right, or a Moms for Liberty activist's right, to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And
Joy, you
each
said you
parent,
didn't- Joy, you said
one
you let me
moment, no.
answer.
Each parent has.
Now, as you can see, Joy doesn't want her to answer the question. Now, I am going to say one thing. If you're a parent and you want your kids to read stuff like this, go buy the book. Go to the public library and take the book out and give it to your own kids. But don't have it in the public school library, right? If you're a parent and you want your kids to read it, so let them go read it. They should go buy it. Simple enough. That's a simple answer. If you want your kids to read Playboy, go buy the Playboy. If you want your kids to go read some type of smut magazine, go buy that smut magazine. Have at it. You get to raise your kid the way you want. But you can't advocate for a Playboy magazine to be in a public school. And then when people say, no, we don't want it in there, say, oh, well, what about the rights of the parents? No, that's idiotic. And look at the way Joy continuously cuts her off. Soon as she starts talking the truth, well, let's talk about what's in this book. Pedophilia, this. Joy, cut it off. I don't want you to say those things, those true things. Because Joy, literally, is advocating for those things to be in public schools, which is crazy. So, listen, I hate giving my opinion on these things sometimes, but I think this is just so obvious. We're talking about age-appropriate stuff here, people. This book, All Boys Aren't Blue, obviously shouldn't be in a public school, right? It shouldn't be there. And advocating that they should be there is ridiculous. It doesn't make sense unless you're trying to groom children for something else, right? It doesn't make sense. Even if this was a heterosexual book, it doesn't matter. There are certain things that are age-appropriate. Now, if you're talking about advanced high school placement, maybe in that context, but still I wouldn't have that in the library. The kids have to buy that book specifically for that class, right? We're talking about literally last year of high school or something like that, where you're talking advanced literature. But no, this should not be available where a third grader can go pick that book up off the shelf. Right, that shouldn't be the case here.
All the graphic sexual content, the dildos,
You're not
the
just,
rape, the incest.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. Let's do a back room. Let's put a curtain up in the library
First
like
of all,
they used
hold
to
on.
do.
One moment.
Remember when we were little and you would go to the video store?
The books that Moms for
and they
Liberty.
put those
the
books,
books that Moms for
videos
Liberty.
with pornography.
I know that you. I've seen.
We could just do that in the public library.
I have seen tapes of what Moms for Liberty does, and you all go into school board meetings and you read graphic stuff.
Disingenuous conversation.
No, it's not.
There's America used to understand that there's something called age-appropriate content.
As always, tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section, because I think this interview was disastrous for Joy Reid and the Moms of Liberty. I think on both sides, some people are trying to get books taken out that they just don't like. But the book that they're talking about, All Boys Aren't Blue, that book shouldn't be in any public school. It should be in colleges. It should be in public libraries, but it should not be in public school. Tell me where I'm wrong. Later.